Welcome back everyone, Oliver here. My previous behind the scenes videos have been primarily centered around outdoor shots or shots in natural lighting, so today I wanted to dedicate a video to indoor shots where you have to set up and stage your own light sources. There's going to be two main segments to this video. The first part is going to be focused on the diorama itself and how I build it, and the second part is going to be dedicated to lighting, so skip to this time right here if you only want to see that. Alrighty, so for this shot in particular, I'm going to be building a Lego set piece from scratch. As the majority of my shots are Star Wars based, this little mock, if you will, is going to be based off the interiors of various Star Wars ships and space stations, predominantly like the hallways of the Death Star or a Star Destroyer. So there's going to be a lot of black and gray pieces, and almost all of it is going to be tiled off to get a smooth, finished look to hide any studs. I've highlighted a couple important pieces here that I use for almost every interior scene I build, and I highly recommend them if you're working on a similar build. In order to frame the hallways, I'm going to be using these slope pieces that are mostly from my Snoke's throne room set, and then I'm going to use these grill and tile pieces to detail the floor and hide any exposed studs that I don't want visible. Now I like to start a lot of these builds with the main archways and structures that frame my hallway and act as a skeleton of sorts. A lot of the architecture in Star Wars incorporates a hexagonal shape of sorts, so I like to combine different slope pieces to achieve that shape. Once I have the frame that I like, I quickly tile off the floor to get an idea of what the final product might look like. Black tiles are an absolute must, and you could honestly tile off the entire floor with them, but I like to incorporate different vent patterns with the tile pieces to give just a bit of detail. So this is what it looks like so far, and the one great thing about building these pillars is that you don't have to detail the rest of the sidewalls, as I'm going to be shooting this diorama straight on, so the perspective will actually hide those parts of the wall. It really doesn't matter what pieces I use to build up these sides. I could even use random colored bricks if I really wanted to. The primary purpose of these walls is simply just to block light from either coming in or going out and capture an authentic hallway lighting setup. Now I'm just going to copy the layout that I have here and extend the hallway a bit, since what I have right now is just a little too short for my liking, as I want to give the shot a bit more depth. I will give one important tip. I try to be certain about where I'm placing these tile pieces, as sometimes it's really difficult to take them out and can get quite annoying when you build other things around them. To finish off this hallway, I'm using this, well, straight up illegal Lego building technique to get this design here, partly because I'm too lazy to build this properly, but mainly because when it comes to building just for the purposes of a shot, you don't necessarily have to follow any rules, so I would encourage you to do whatever is necessary to achieve the look you're going for. Before I move on to the ceiling, I'm going to stage my figures so I have an idea of exactly what I want before I close it up. I'm using my imagination here and going for something you'd probably see in Battlefront 2, and also basing this off of one of my very first shots with General Grievous right here. Alrighty, now we've entered the lighting half of this video, and it doesn't go without saying that what you build for the ceiling of your structure plays the biggest role in determining what your lighting situation is going to look like. I found that one of the best pieces to use is this one right here. I've used it in a couple of my shots before, and I'm going to be incorporating it here in a very similar way. These pieces are great for allowing a controlled amount of light into your scene, and it's honestly really hard not to use them in every shot. I'm adding these studs to the bottom of each plate to change things up from our previous shot, but I don't recommend adding anything larger that hides the pattern of these great panels I have. Okay, we're going to set this aside for a bit, and I'm going to show you guys some of the light sources I use. On the left here we have this Ulanzi light, if I'm saying that correctly, that I just recently got, so this will actually be my first time using it. I can already tell that it's going to be my favorite light as it's super handy and versatile. There are two modes, the first of which you can adjust the color and brightness of the light and be as precise as you want and get the exact color and brightness. The second is a colorless lighting mode, in which you can adjust the temperature from a really warm to a really cool tone. The second light I got for free, so I'm not exactly sure where it's from, but I'm pretty sure you can find it on Amazon. It's definitely not as adjustable as the other one, but it still gets the job done. There's like 8 colors you can choose from, and I really like how long it is, as it really comes in handy for shots like these two. The thing that I don't really like is the fact that you can't adjust the temperature of the light, and so the light that I'm stuck with here is rather warm, which isn't appropriate for a Star Destroyer in like the cold void of space. Now if you don't have a proper lighting source tool such as the ones I showed, don't worry, I've used a bunch of unconventional tools in the past before, such as these right here, but if you don't have something like this, most everyone has a flashlight of sorts on their phone, which is something I find myself using from time to time with my old iPhone 5. Now if you only have your phone but still want to use colored lighting, I've got a little hack just for you. All you need is a bit of tape and a couple translucent colored studs. Just place the top of your stud into the sticky side of the tape and then onto your phone, covering the flashlight, and that's all there is to it. This is what it looks like with the lights turned down, which honestly doesn't look too shabby at all in my opinion. Going back to our setup, I like to use at least one layer of tissue paper to soften the light coming in from the ceiling. It gives the effect that the grid plate itself is the light source and eliminates any light rays peering through from showing up on camera. As I touched on earlier, the interiors of Star Destroyers or light cruisers, for example, have very cool light tones. You almost never see warm light on an Imperial ship, so we're going to be using the coolest tone possible here to achieve that look. This light can get pretty bright, so we only need it at about 6%, and we're just going to hold it over our setup like this. Alright, so with the lights turned off, this is what it looks like on my camera, and I typically just play around and experiment with different positions for the light and where I want the shadows to be until I have about 5 to 10 different variations of different light positions, and then I choose from them at the end. Okay, so after about 20 minutes or so of trying different things, I ultimately settled on this shot right here. Now 2 things in particular jump out to me here. First off, the angle I'm shooting at is a bit off center and tilted, so I decided to completely change the angle of this shot and go for something I don't usually do. 1, to hide my mistakes from earlier, and 2, just to change things up from my past shots. Now this image still looks a bit plain and boring to me, so I'm going to throw this into Photoshop and see what I can do with it. Alright, so I added 3 main elements to this: the lightsaber glow, some smoke, and some flying sparks. In addition to the lightsaber blade itself, I made sure to add a bit of red glow filling up the smoke to make the lighting feel a bit more authentic. As for the smoke and sparks, both are just PNGs that I altered in respect to the perspective, opacity, and focus. And that's all there is to it. I did post this shot almost 2 months ago now, so the BTS footage from this shot has been sitting in my backlog for quite a while now, but I'm glad I finally got this video out. Special shout out to everyone that subscribed and followed recently, as we've hit 400 on here and a little over 11k on Insta. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, which hopefully comes out a lot sooner rather than later.